So, do you ever, like, when you're looking at news stories or just things going on in the world, do those ever find a way to creep into your books?
Yes, there's, like life lessons and stuff that I've learned that I do weave into my novels, just like common things that, well, there's no such thing as common sense, but things that I've learned along the way that, I will weave that in there, like, it's not it's like I don't want to hit people over the head with a wholesome message and all, but I'll weave it in there so that it's applicable to the adventure that's going on, but it's also a stop and think, like, huh, I hadn't thought of that. So um, I try to do those kind of things. As far as like current events, it's kind of hard to weave in our current events into a magical medieval realm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking more about when he was on this side of the veil and, you
Yeah, he
know.
didn't spend. We see him more on our side of the veil as the
Mhm.
book gets later on, like into the
Okay.
series, but he's spending a lot more time across the veil. He has made a couple trips here, but he's not yet had his adventure here on this side yet. So, but
Oh,
I haven't excluded that. It's just it's more from his perspective. And
sure.
my protagonist, like, what is he going to see? Is he going to watch the news? Is he going to interact with a lot of people? Is he going to travel far? So I got to keep it within his realm.
Sure thing. So how do you go about with this world building, this other realm? I mean, what's your inspiration for that?
Merlin, definitely, like Merlin and King Arthur and the Arthurian tales. I've always kind of associated magic with medieval times, and they don't have technology because they don't need it. We're the ones that need it because we don't have magic. But I kind of envisioned that world, and then it just sort of grew from there. So, but a lot of times I just have an image in my head, and I just write down what I see.
So when we first spoke, um, you said you've been writing for 35 years. At what point in that 35 years did you first start conceptualizing this character or this realm or this even the idea for this series?
Oh, I started writing this first book in, I think, probably 2029, 2018 or something. Beginning of 2019, at least I know I was writing it then, but I was diagnosed in September of 2019 and I had finished it. And so that's when I sent that book off because I thought, well, maybe this is my special interest, writing. And I sent that book off. So it would have been 2019 that I started it, and I finished it that same year. Yeah.
Okay. So is that also when you first started like thinking about these characters? That's really what I'm asking is like where did
Yes.
the ideas stem from?
Oh, yeah, no, the ideas stem from, like again, the Merlin, and what was Merlin like before he became Merlin, famous Merlin the magician? What would he be like if he was a young man in our times? I didn't set out to write, I didn't plan to write a male protagonist. He just sort of, the character developed for the role.
Sure.
I know people ask me why, but I jokingly say it's because if my character's traipsing through the woods for weeks on end, I don't have to worry about menstrual cycles. But in all honesty, it's just that's the character that developed for the role.
Yeah, absolutely. Though there's something to be said for that first response because yeah, men simpler, easier. Enough said.
Yeah, there's no, drugstore around the corner that you can go and get some, what you
Mm,
need. But
right.
yeah, that's what I jokingly say. But I do have female characters in my books, and we will see them more as we go. But we have to start somewhere, and we start out with my character just being very lonely, trying to figure out who they are and why they have these abilities, and then they end up, attracting the notice of these very powerful figures that are out to, axe him. One wants to just outright end him, and the other one wants to steal his powers. So he kind of
Okay.
gets dragged into this realm. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then he once he learns about this, it kind of feels like, well, here I don't have to hide my powers, but I'm a human in the magical realm, so I still don't belong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.